What is up? My name is Steve, and in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I was able to 4.25x a company in 60 days without having to sell drugs or do anything illegal. Now, if you don't know me, my name is Steve Smaridge, and I run a portfolio of sales teams that does about $40 million a year in cash collected, and I definitely have something to sell you. See that? Yeah, working on it. All right, cool. Well, let's dive in. So in this video, I'm going to walk through exactly the frameworks that I use to think through how I'm going to implement things when I jump into a sales team. And so if throughout this video you get called to by like a sign from God, or you just like me and my weird curly hair and my dumb jokes and you want me to run your sales team, well then great, there will definitely be a call to action in the link in bio. You can go ahead and click that apply. For those of you who maybe don't have a sales team and you're just here for the good looks and the bad jokes, well, gosh, thank you for just being who you are. So let's dive in. I want to talk through the exact framework that I use when I jump into a sales team, because oftentimes my company will get contracted to build out a sales team. And what we do is we get a long intake form, and we basically do an audit of the entire sales process from A to Z. Everything that they're doing, we listen to calls, review the script, review the pipeline, the dashboards, the whole 9 yards. We review everything. We look at how cohesive the marketing message is to the sales process. We look at everything. And as we look at things, we're writing down implementation steps. And what I look for is I create the implementation pathway. And the reason why I'm able to create such clear implementation pathways is I always had to look for what are the easiest things that this company can do to start to make money immediately so that I can sell them more stuff. And I did that for a year and a half, and I got pretty good at it. A lot of people bought stuff. Anyway, that's besides the point. I just actually really like business. So the framework that I think through as I become Tiny Steve, ready? Here we go, Tiny Steve, ha ha ha, and smiling faces and low money. So here's what it is. We have how much leverage it provides the company and how easy it is to implement. Pretty straightforward. Stay with me. So there's 4 quadrants. Now, the quadrant number 1, if we just review this one here, if I make it an erasable, draw with finger. I want it to go away after I draw. So this quadrant here exists as the feel-good phase, the feel-good position. And so what this looks like is low leverage and hard to do. So low leverage things that are hard to do, like making a whole bunch of spreadsheets that nobody looks at, or making a HubSpot dashboard that is useless. Doing things that don't make money, but make you feel like you're doing something. We all know what that looks like. We've all been on meetings that we didn't need to be a part of, but we do it because they feel good. And so this, I call the feel-good position. It doesn't make anybody money, but we all feel good about doing it and having been involved in something that is part of the mission towards the company. Ha ha ha. All right. So do we spend any time doing things that make us feel good and that are hard to do? No. No. We care about this one. And we'll talk about this one in a moment. Now, the next quadrant is the things that are really easy to do and are very low leveraged. These things often will cost us money, because if they were easy to do and they're low leveraged, that means that we had to spend resources to allocate to somebody doing something that was easy when they could have been doing something that was higher leveraged. And so I don't even look at things that are easy to do, and low leverage. I look at things that are high leveraged and easy to do. So an example of something that is easy to do and very low leveraged would be changing something on a sales script to say something of, well, should we say that the customer is satisfied or should we say that they're happy? Oh my gosh. Okay, we actually just put human capital behind making this decision and we had 2 meetings about it. Was that useful? No. Did that cost us money? Probably. We probably all could have been doing something else to make us more money than that conversation specifically. So these are the things that you don't feel good for doing. They don't make the company money, but they are super easy to do, and so we look for a lot of these little things. Now, they oftentimes will cost the company money. Why? Because we spend money on people, and when we spend money on people and people do things that are easy, that means that they're not doing things that are hard. So when you get somebody to do something that is hard, or how do you get somebody to do something that is hard? Great question. So let's take a look at a sales script change, for example. Now, when you're dealing with humans, sometimes when you make a change, humans don't like change. And so this sales team specifically, there had been reps there for a couple of years, and I said, we're going to change the sales script. And they went, I have my own little process. I like doing it this way, etc. Okay, terrific. Then this becomes a moment of coaching, and this is why it's not the easiest thing to implement in the world. So there is obviously some level of difficulty when it comes to installing a change, because you have to coach humans through a new process. And like, fair enough. Like, if I've been doing the same thing for 2 years and then some dude with long hair comes in and tells me that I have to change that process, I'm going to be like, what the hell? what the hell, man? And I will say, well, that's acceptable. And so this just becomes a coaching moment. And so through coaching, we can actually make that person satisfied, and therefore the company makes more money and they make more money. Now, the last piece is, which is actually where all the money gets made, which is things that are a little bit more difficult to implement, but very high leverage. So the last quadrant is obviously going to be something that is super easy to do and makes money. So something that is easy to do and makes money would be an example of like changing the call to go from calls to Zoom. Super easy to do, immediately is going to make the company more money. Changing the call times from 30 minutes to 45 minutes so that you actually have a little bit more time to talk to the prospect. Great. Super easy to do, immediately going to make the company more money. Not really much headache involved, no arguments, nobody's unhappy, we're good to go. So let's walk through the exact 7 things that took this company from doing about $60,000 a month to $280,000 a month in 60 days. So step number 1, and we're actually going to rank them on the quadrants of where they belong. And so I'll get rid of all these graphics. These were more so I could just remember what the hell I was talking about. So the first thing that I did is I implemented ownership, because I sat in on a sales meeting and this sales manager, I kid you not, was like, just blaming, the most blatant marketing blaming I've ever seen a sales manager do, like to the point where I was like, people like this don't exist. Like I've heard stories and I was like, no, you guys are just like hyperbolic, like sales managers don't actually talk like that. But we're on the sales meeting and he's like, yeah, the marketing leads are bipolar, like there's not much else that we can do, like these people are super broke, I have no idea, like, you know, you guys do your best, I'll see you later. I was like, oh my gosh. And so I was like, okay, well, the first thing that I could do, the easiest thing, so super easy and super high leveraged, is I just said, well, let's just take some ownership. Point number 1, ownership, is I just said, okay, guys, I think we will all make more money if we realize that these leads are humans, and if we treat them like humans and we work on our skills as salespeople, we have a higher likelihood of selling them stuff. And the whole team nodded and agreed, and later that day, they all made more money than they did the day before, and honestly, for a while, everybody felt better. 1 sentence on a meeting. Super high leveraged, super, super high leveraged, and 1 sentence on a meeting. The easiest thing I could have done. And like, people were like, oh man, I was getting like high fives from the executives. I was like, guys, I'm sorry that the bar was set so low. I'm glad to be here, for sure. But like, you know, anyway, not to toot my own horn. And if you watch this YouTube video, you're like, oh my God, I could probably 4X a company if I had this opportunity. I'd be like, you're probably right. So go ahead and do it, and then you can make your own YouTube video. Second thing is implementing a change in script. Now, I would say that step number 2 is what we did, is we changed the script. And obviously, when you have sales reps that have been doing the same sales process for years, and you say, okay, well, we're gonna change the new script. It's difficult to do because we had to do a couple of things. These calls were 30 minutes and they were over the phone. I said, okay, well, we're going to put them on Zoom. We're going to make them 45 minutes. We're actually going to ask people what problem they have and what they're looking to do before we try to sell them something. Does that sound like a good idea? And the sales reps were like, I think I could do it. And so the difficult part came with the implementation because they were so used to just calling them, pitching, and then see you later. Now, what we started to do is we actually implemented the discovery process. We implemented like a regular pitch rather than just telling them what the price was and then hanging up. Once again, if you look at this and you're like, that's so easy, I'd be like, I agree. Now, the next thing that we did is we changed the phone calls to Zoom. That way, people would actually see the people's face and they could be like, you know what, I feel better about making a $4,000 buying decision because I can look you in the eyes. Seems fair enough, honestly. From here, what we did is we hired I'm actually just going to show you the list. Okay, I've tightened this up a little bit. So once again, we have ease and we have leverage. And so first thing, ownership, super easy. Everybody was on board. 2, implementing a script change, kind of difficult, but also super high leverage. And then number 3, changing calls to Zoom. Next thing that we did is we hired a whole bunch of new people. So I said, I'm just going to go find some more new talent. Well, was that the easiest thing to do given where the company was at? No, it was actually pretty difficult to hire for because people were looking at it. They're like, how am I going to make money here? And so you sell them on the vision. They're like, look, this is what we're coming to do. I'm not a moron. Like, I know how to run a sales team. Like, I know how to look at a company and be like, there's obviously some missing pieces here. I think we can do a better job. And they were like, okay, that sounds good. And so hiring, I would put in the category of very high leverage, but a little bit more difficult to do because it's not like I can just say a sentence on a meeting and then immediately have people here. Like, I got to go through interviews. You got to vet out people. You got to make sure that they're bought into the mission of the company. They see the value in the company. They want to be here. They want to invest their time. You got to go through reps. Like, there's multiple steps that you have to do when you're considering a hiring process. So just in doing the first three things, we're actually able to take things and move them in the right direction for sure. Now, in hiring more people, that looks like increasing the close rate depending on who you hire, etc. Did a very good job. The next thing is this company didn't have setters. So all these calls were getting booked on the closer's calendar, no opt-ins, no outbounds, nothing. And so the next thing that we did, obviously, super high leverage, but very difficult to do, is creating an entire setter process. And so in creating an entire setter process, you have to create the process, validate the process, put your sales manager, have them do the process, make sure that it works, then hire the setter, train them on the process, get them ramped up, make sure that they feel good about the process. A lot of steps, right? And so it's not the easiest thing to implement, however, super high leverage, because what that does is it decreases the cost per book call, increases show rate. Bob's your uncle, we're having a great day. The next thing that we did is we implemented double bookings because the show rate, not great. And so anybody who didn't confirm the night before, we marked that spot as free, put another spot in there. We were also having calls that were in the end of the week. We were moving them up so that we were being super efficient with our calendar. So that as calls were getting booked further and further out, we were moving them up. The speed to sale was getting decreased because a lot of times what was happening is because they were phone calls and there wasn't a ton of closer availability, calls were getting booked out 4 or 5 days in advance, and then the show rate was dropping because people were falling off, obviously, because they probably found something else to do 4 to 5 days out from now. That's a long time. That's like 3 months in dog years. Oh, and so that super easy to do because all you have to do is mark it as free. Now you do have to train the team on like how to optimize their calendar, how to be efficient, and you really have to develop like this standard surrounding like how to make your calendar more efficient. And so that's not the easiest thing to do, but that kind of leads into like 4, which is just hiring the right people and hiring people who it's like they want to do that. What does want mean? Video for another time. And so implementing that, very easy to implement, hard to execute. And so that's why I would put that under the ease to execute, pretty easy to do, hard to execute and maintain. And so this quadrant specifically revolves around the implementation rather than the execution. So I would actually put it right there, pretty easy, very high leverage thing that we were doing. Probably one of the most higher leverage things that we were doing. The last thing, app grading, which is going to be the next thing that we're going to implement. We actually haven't even need to do this yet, as all of the applications, so like if we were to do app grading, we would have like 80% of them would be qualified. And so it's like, why bother? But we do have a system in place to get that rolling out for the month of December, which I'm pretty excited about. So what were the actual outcomes and really, really, really cool. Just like pat myself on the back for this one. We didn't do anything over here. Like we did nothing that was low leverage. Like we created a spreadsheet, super easy to do, but very low leverage. I mean, it's good to have awareness on your numbers for sure, but like, is that the primary thing that's going to make this company money rather than just like having an eye contact conversations with people and asking them about their problems? No, that mattered way more. So what did this turn into? Well, check this out. The close rate went from a banging 6% all the way up to 41%. I don't even know what that is in terms of like math. I'll figure it out. Be 636, be a 6.8 increase in close rate. So we increased the close rate by 6.8. We took the show rate from 40% to 56%. That's still pretty bad. Look, I'm working on it. Okay, I'm definitely working on it. That like a 16% increase. Yeah, whoop-de-doo. Okay, it kind of sucks. But what the real thing that we did is, or the real benefit is we actually took the ROAS from a 0.7 to a 3.2x ROAS. So that means that the company was losing money. Now the company is making money. So they were losing money on $60,000 a month. Now they're making money on $280,000 a month. So they were losing. Anyway, if you watch this video and you're like, holy crap, that sounds like the easiest thing that could ever be done. Yeah, I agree. But it takes a lot of work and a lot of implementation, and you have to have the right team to do it. And so it's honestly like I make these videos to make it look easy, but realistically, like the implementation of this stuff, super complicated, took a lot of man hours, took a lot of time. And so if you want somebody to just like dominate your sales team, and if you have a company that you really believe in and like a huge brand and like want to make more money, click the link in the bio. You can apply. We will reach out to you. We'll make sure that you, jeez. If you like me and I like you and you want to make money and pay me some of that money, I will gladly accept that money. There you go.